Hey everyone. Tonight we're stepping into the scorching sun, the endless sand, and the brutal reality of ancient Egypt. Forget the mystical pharaohs and golden treasures Hollywood showed you. The truth? You probably wouldn't last 3 days building a pyramid. So before we begin, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe grab some water because you're going to need it, and let's step into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you've just woken up as a builder in ancient Egypt around 2500 BCE during the Old Kingdom. The good news? The pyramids you're building will last forever. The bad news? You probably won't make it to 40. Your bed isn't a bed. It's a woven reed mat on a mud brick platform. If you're lucky, there's a wooden headrest that feels like sleeping on a rock. No pillow, no mattress, just reeds and the knowledge that scorpions sometimes crawl underneath during the night. The room around you is small, cramped, and shared with your entire family. Your wife, your children, maybe your parents, all sleeping within arm's reach. Privacy doesn't exist. The walls are mud brick, cracked and crumbling. There's one small window, just a hole really, covered with a reed screen that does almost nothing to keep out the heat, the flies, or the ever-present dust. The heat is already building. Even at dawn, the temperature is climbing. Egypt is a furnace, and you're about to work in it all day. The air is thick, heavy, and still. There's no breeze this early, just oppressive warmth that promised to become unbearable by midday. You try to stretch, but your body screams in protest. Your back aches from yesterday's labor, a deep, throbbing pain that never fully goes away. Your hands are covered in blisters and calluses, some fresh, some old, and hardened like leather. You're maybe 30 years old, but your body feels 60. Every joint creaks like an old door. Every muscle protests even the smallest movement. The smell hits you immediately. Sweat, both yours and your family's. Smoke from last night's cooking fire still lingers, acrid and choking. And there's the distinct odor of the Nile mud that's everywhere, a earthy, musty smell that permeates everything. It's in the walls, on the floor, in your clothes, probably in your lungs. Outside, you can already hear the overseer shouting. His voice carries across the workers' village, harsh and demanding. The work gangs are assembling. You have maybe minutes to get ready before the day's brutal labor begins. There's no snooze button, no taking your time, no gentle wake-up. You move now, or face punishment. Your family stirs around you. Your wife is already up, rekindling the fire for the morning meal. Your children, those who survived infancy, are slowly waking. Your youngest daughter coughs, a wet, rattling sound that's been going on for weeks. There's nothing you can do about it. Medicine is expensive and largely ineffective. You pray to Sekhmet, goddess of healing, but prayers don't cure lung infections. You notice your eldest son is missing from his mat. He's 12 now, old enough to work. He's probably already outside, eager to prove himself to the overseers. Part of you is proud. Part of you wishes he could have a few more years of childhood, whatever that means in ancient Egypt. The floor beneath your feet is cool mud brick, packed hard from years of use. You avoid the corner where water leaked through during the last rain, creating a patch of crumbling brick and potential collapse. Repairs are expensive, and you can't afford them. You just avoid that spot and hope the roof doesn't cave in during the next storm. Welcome to morning in ancient Egypt, where the sun is your enemy, the work is endless, and survival is a daily battle you're slowly losing. So you've rolled off your reed mat. Your feet hit the packed dirt floor, and immediately you feel the grit between your toes. Now you need to relieve yourself, and there's no bathroom waiting for you. No porcelain throne, no running water, No privacy, just necessity and an outdoor adventure that starts every day the same uncomfortable way. Forget indoor plumbing. That's 3,000 years away. In ancient Egypt, your toilet situation is grim at best, catastrophic at worst. If you're working on the pyramid construction site, and you're using a communal latrine. It's basically a long trench dug in the sand, covered with wooden planks that have holes cut in them. Dozens of workers use it every day. The smell is indescribable, a physical presence that assaults you before you even get close. It's a combination of human waste, lime, and the peculiar stench of decomposition in extreme heat. You hold your breath, do your business as quickly as possible, and pray you don't lose your balance. The planks are worn smooth from constant use, and more than one worker has fallen in over the years. Those stories are told around the evening fires as cautionary tales and dark humor. There's no toilet paper. Never heard of it. You use sand, smooth stones, or broken pottery shards called ostraca. Sometimes just your left hand and water if it's available. This is why Egyptians eat and greet only with their right hand. The left is considered unclean for obvious reasons. It's a cultural rule everyone understands, and no one questions. In the workers' village, waste management is slightly better organized. There are designated areas carefully located downwind from the living quarters when possible. Workers are assigned on rotation to cover the waste with sand regularly. It's considered one of the worst jobs, reserved for those who've displeased the overseers or the newest arrivals who haven't built up any social capital yet. But better is relative. It's still hot, exposed, and flies are everywhere. The flies are relentless, massive swarms that coat every surface. They spread disease, crawl in your eyes and mouth, and there's no way to escape them. Some workers wrap cloth around their faces, but it's hot and suffocating, and you need to breathe. The wealthy in the cities have slightly more sophisticated arrangements. Clay pots that servants empty into the Nile or into pits outside the city walls. Some noble households have elaborate systems with sand-filled pots that need regular replacement. But you're not wealthy. You're not even close. You're a builder, and your toilet is a hole in the ground shared with hundreds of other men. And here's the nightmare that nobody talks about until it's too late. Intestinal parasites are rampant. The water is contaminated. The food handling is questionable at best. And nearly everyone suffers from some form of digestive misery. Your stomach is constantly upset. Cramps are normal. Diarrhea is common enough that it's barely remarked upon. Dysentery sweeps through the workers' village regularly, killing dozens at a time. One week a man is hauling stones beside you, joking and strong. The next week he's dead, his body dehydrated and wasted from unstoppable diarrhea. There's no treatment. You either survive it or you don't. Archaeological evidence from workers' villages shows that intestinal diseases were the #1 health problem. Everyone was infected with something. Tapeworms that could grow to lengths of 30 feet inside your intestines. Round worms that caused malnutrition and weakness. Schistosomiasis from the Nile water, where parasites enter through your skin and lay eggs in your bladder and intestines. You know you have parasites. Everyone does. You've seen them in your stool, white and writhing. Sometimes you feel them moving inside you, a disturbing sensation that you try not to think about. There's nothing you can do except live with them and hope they don't kill you outright. The priests and physicians say the parasites are demons, evil spirits that must be driven out with spells and incantations. Some remedies involve drinking concoctions made from ground-up beetles and herbs. They don't work. The parasites remain, feeding on whatever nutrition you manage to consume. So you've survived your morning bathroom adventure, such as it was. You've avoided falling in, avoided the worst of the flies, and maybe even found some relatively clean sand to clean yourself with. Now, you need to eat something before the day's brutal labor begins. Your stomach is empty, growling, and you know the work ahead will demand every ounce of strength you can muster. Breakfast in ancient Egypt is not a feast. It's not even particularly appetizing. It's fuel, barely sufficient, and always the same. You sit on the ground outside your dwelling, cross-legged in the dust. The sun is just cresting the horizon, already hot. Your wife or mother hands you a bowl, rough pottery that's been used so many times the inside is worn smooth. Inside is bread and onions. That's it. Maybe some dates if you're fortunate, but mostly bread and onions, the eternal breakfast of the Egyptian working class. The bread is coarse, made from emmer wheat or barley ground on stone querns. It's full of grit and sand from the grinding process. Every bite wears down your teeth like sandpaper. By the time you're 30, your teeth are ground flat, the enamel gone, the sensitive interior exposed. By 40, if you make it that long, many teeth are infected or missing entirely. Dental abscesses are common, painful, and often fatal when the infection spreads to your jaw or brain. The bread is also hard, rock hard. It was baked yesterday or maybe the day before, and it's dried out in the desert air. You dip it in water to soften it, or you risk breaking a tooth. Sometimes there's beer to dip it in. Yes, beer for breakfast. It's not just acceptable, it's recommended. Beer is safer than water and provides calories you desperately need. Egyptian beer isn't like modern beer. It's thick, nutritious, and slightly sweet with a sour undertone. It's made from barley bread that's partially baked, then crumbled into water and left to ferment with dates for sweetness. The result is more like liquid bread than beer. It's cloudy, chunky, and has floating bits in it. The alcohol content is low, maybe 2 to 3%, just enough to kill some bacteria, but not enough to get you drunk. You drink it warm because there's no refrigeration. In the Egyptian heat, everything is warm. The beer has a yeasty, bread-like taste with a hint of sweetness and a definite sour note. It's not delicious, but it's familiar and safe. You've been drinking it since childhood. Onions are everywhere in Egyptian cuisine. They're cheap, they grow easily in the Nile's rich soil, and they provide some nutrition. You eat them raw, roasted, or mixed into whatever else you're eating. They're pungent and strong, making your breath reek and your eyes water. Garlic, too. Both are believed to give strength and ward off illness. They don't, but they're better than nothing, and the placebo effect is real enough. As a pyramid builder, your rations are actually better than most Egyptians. The pharaoh needs his pyramid built, so workers are fed reasonably well compared to the general population. You get a daily ration: 10 loaves of bread, 2 jugs of beer, onions, and occasionally lentils or beans. It's not delicious, but it's reliable, which is more than most people can say. The bread ration sounds generous until you realize how much energy you're burning. You're hauling multi-ton stones in 100-degree heat for 12 hours. Those 10 loaves barely cover your caloric needs. You're always hungry, always wanting more. Meat is a distant dream. That's for festivals, religious ceremonies, or the wealthy. You might taste meat once a month if you're lucky, usually during a religious celebration when animals are sacrificed and the meat is distributed. Beef, mutton, goat, or duck, roasted over open fires and so delicious it makes you want to cry. You eat slowly, savoring every bite, knowing it might be weeks before you taste it again. Fish from the Nile is more common, but still not daily. The Nile teems with fish: catfish, tilapia, perch, and Nile carp. They're caught in nets and traps, then dried, salted, or smoked for preservation. Fresh fish spoils in hours under the Egyptian sun. So most fish you eat is preserved, tough, and salty enough to make your tongue shrivel. Some workers supplement their diet by fishing in the Nile during their rare free time. But fishing requires equipment: nets, hooks, line. Equipment costs money you don't have. So you make do with your rations and whatever your family can grow in the small plot near your dwelling. You choke down your gritty bread, drink your thick beer, and eat your raw onions. Your daughter is coughing again, and you give her part of your bread ration. Your wife notices and gives you a look, concern mixed with resignation. You're all slowly starving despite the rations, all losing weight, all getting weaker. But you can't think about that now. The overseer's voice is getting louder, more insistent. The work gangs are forming up. You drain the last of your beer, wipe your mouth with the back of your hand, and prepare yourself for the day ahead. Because building the eternal resting place of a God King requires strength you don't have, and endurance you'll need to find somewhere deep inside. Now that you've eaten your sad breakfast, it's time to get dressed. Not that there's much to put on. Your wardrobe is simple to the point of absurdity. Your wardrobe consists of one item, a linen kilt. That's it. Just a rectangular piece of linen, roughly 3 feet by 6 feet, wrapped around your waist and tucked in at the front. No shirt, no shoes, no underwear. The Egyptian sun is brutal, but clothing is expensive and you don't own much. What you have, you wear. The linen is rough and undyed, a natural off-white color that's yellowed with age and stained with sweat and dirt. It's been washed so many times it's thin and threadbare in places. You can almost see through it in spots where the weave has weakened. You've worn this same kilt for months, possibly years. It's stained with sweat rings, dust, blood from various scrapes and cuts and things you don't want to think about too closely. Linen comes from flax, which grows along the Nile during the growing season. Making linen is incredibly labor-intensive. The flax must be harvested at just the right time, soaked in water for weeks to rot the outer fibers, beaten repeatedly to separate the fibers, combed to align them, spun into thread on a drop spindle, and finally woven into cloth on a loom. It takes weeks of work to produce enough linen for a single garment. This means linen is valuable, really valuable. You own exactly one kilt that you're wearing now, and maybe a spare if you're fortunate, which you're not. The spare would be for festivals or important occasions, kept carefully folded and protected. Your everyday kilt is worn until it literally falls apart, then patched and worn some more. Washing clothes means going to the Nile, beating your kilt against rocks with natron, a natural salt that acts as soap. Natron is abrasive, killing bacteria and removing oils, but it's also harsh on fabric. Every washing weakens the linen a little more. Then you lay it out to dry in the sun. In Egypt's heat, it dries in less than an hour. But you can't wash it often because you're working every day and you only have this one kilt. So your kilt smells. It smells like you, like sweat and dirt and hard labor. Everyone's does. You've long since stopped noticing your own smell, and everyone else is in the same situation, so nobody comments. It's just normal. Shoes are a luxury you absolutely cannot afford. You're barefoot, always, every day, all day, year-round. Your feet are your connection to the ground, and the ground in Egypt wants to kill them. The sand burns your feet during the day. By midday, the surface sand is hot enough to cause burns, over 150 degrees Fahrenheit. You learn to walk on the balls of your feet quickly, lifting each foot rapidly to avoid the heat. You seek out any shade, any rock, any spot that might be cooler. Sharp stones cut your feet regularly. Thorns from desert plants pierce your soles. By the end of a workday, your feet are often bleeding from multiple small cuts and punctures. These cuts become infected easily in the dusty, dirty environment. Foot infections are common and can be debilitating. The wealthy wear leather sandals. Not shoes, but sandals with a sole and a strap between the toes. Priests and officials have elaborate sandals, some even decorated with gold and jewels. You have nothing. You've never owned sandals. You never will. Your feet are calloused, tough as leather, and covered in scars. The soles of your feet are so thick and hardened that you can walk on gravel without flinching. Your skin is dark from the sun, much darker than you were born. Years of exposure have weathered and aged you beyond your actual years. You're covered in a perpetual layer of dust that settles into every pore. Your arms and torso are lean and muscular from the work, but it's a hard, stringy musculature with no fat reserves. You look malnourished because you are. Your hair is cut short, hacked off with a bronze razor or knife. It's practical rather than stylish. Lice and fleas are everywhere, constant companions that bite and itch relentlessly. Short hair is easier to manage and inspect for parasites. Some workers shave their heads completely. It's cooler and cleaner. You keep yours short, maybe a finger's length, rough and uneven from crude cutting. Your face is lined and weathered despite your relative youth. Crow's feet around your eyes from squinting in the bright sun. Deep lines on your forehead. Your nose is peeling from sunburn that never quite heals. Your lips are cracked and bleeding at the corners. You have no mirror. Polished bronze mirrors exist, but they're for the wealthy. You have no idea what you look like beyond what you can see of your own body. You're probably unrecognizable to anyone who knew you before you started this work. Now that you're dressed in your single piece of linen and absolutely nothing else, it's time to join the thousands of other workers and start moving stones that weigh more than you can imagine. Time to face another day in the service of the God King, building his stairway to heaven one back-breaking block at a time. The overseer's voice echoes across the workers' village, harsh and commanding. It's time. You grab your tools, such as they are, and join the stream of men heading toward the construction site. Hundreds of men, all dressed identically in simple kilts, all shuffling toward the pyramid with varying degrees of enthusiasm or resignation. The pyramid rises before you, already massive and still growing. It dominates the landscape, an artificial mountain of white limestone that gleams in the early morning sun. Hundreds of thousands of limestone blocks, each weighing between 2 and 15 tons, stacked with precision that seems impossible. And you're responsible for moving them, one exhausting block at a time. You're not a slave. Let's be absolutely clear about this because it's one of the most persistent myths about pyramid construction. You're not a slave. You're a paid worker, part of a rotating labor force. Farmers who come during the inundation, the annual flood season when the Nile overflows its banks and your fields are underwater and impossible to work. It's a form of taxation, a national service that every able-bodied man owes to the pharaoh. You work for 3 or 4 months, then return home to your village and your farming. But not a slave doesn't mean the work is any less brutal. If anything, knowing you chose this, or at least your village headman chose it for you, makes it worse. You can't even claim you were forced. This is your duty, your obligation to the divine order of Ma'at. You're assigned to a gang. These gangs have names, often competitive or boastful ones designed to inspire pride and encourage effort. The vigorous gang, the enduring gang, friends of Khufu, drunkards of Menkaure. Names that create identity and loyalty. Your gang has about 20 men, and you've come to know them well over the weeks and months. Some are friends, some you tolerate, some you'd happily never see again. Several gangs make up a crew of around 200 men. Several crews make up a division of about 2,000. It's organized like a military operation with clear chains of command, assigned tasks, and strict discipline. The overseers are former workers who've proven themselves, promoted to positions of authority. They carry wooden staffs and aren't afraid to use them on workers who lag or disobey. Your task today is hauling, the same as yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. A massive limestone block has been delivered from the quarry at Tura, across the Nile. It was floated across on a barge during the high water season, then dragged to the construction site. The block sits on a wooden sledge made from strong acacia wood. Thick ropes are attached to the front of the sledge, ropes made from twisted plant fibers that cut into your hands despite your calluses. Your gang grabs the ropes, spacing yourselves evenly. An overseer shouts the rhythm, a chant that helps coordinate the pulling. You pull, 20 men straining in unison, muscles screaming in protest, pulling tons of stone across sand. It shouldn't be possible, but it is. Barely. But wait, there's a trick that makes this slightly less impossible. Workers ahead of you are pouring water on the sand from large pottery jars. Wet sand is firmer, more compact, and the sledge slides easier across it. It's brilliant engineering discovered through trial and error over generations. It reduces the friction dramatically and probably saves lives. But it's still backbreaking work that no amount of water can make easy. You pull until your hands bleed through your calluses, the rope fibers cutting into your palms like blades. You pull until your legs shake and threaten to give out beneath you. You pull until you can't see straight from dehydration, and your vision narrows to a tunnel. And then you pull some more because stopping isn't an option. The overseer is watching, and falling behind means punishment. Accidents happen constantly on a project this size. Ropes break from the strain, and men are lashed by the recoil, the heavy rope striking like a whip and breaking bones or cracking skulls. Blocks shift unexpectedly on their sledges, and workers are crushed beneath tons of limestone. There are no safety regulations, no workers' compensation, no liability. If you're injured, you're replaced. If you're killed, your body is removed, and work continues without pause. The pyramid must be built. You've seen men die, more than you can count. Crushed by falling blocks, struck by breaking ropes, collapsing from heat stroke and never getting up. Their bodies are carried away to the workers' cemetery, buried in simple graves in the sand. Some have their names recorded, most don't. They just vanish, replaced by the next rotation of workers from their village. Once the block reaches the base of the pyramid, it must be lifted. This is where the real engineering challenge begins. Ramps, long, massive ramps made of mud, brick, and rubble, spiral around the pyramid. You help drag the block up the ramp, fighting gravity every step of the way. The ramp is steep enough to be exhausting, but shallow enough to be passable. It's a delicate balance. The higher the pyramid grows, the longer the ramp must be to maintain a workable gradient. By the time you're placing blocks near the top, the ramp is over a mile long and requires almost as much material as the pyramid itself. It's a temporary structure that will be dismantled once the pyramid is complete, but for now it's as impressive as the pyramid itself. At the top, skilled masons position the block with wooden levers and copper tools. These men are craftsmen, trained from childhood in the art of stonemasonry. They check the alignment with plumb bobs and water levels, ensuring each block is perfectly positioned. The precision is astonishing. Blocks fit together so tightly you can't slide a knife blade between them. No mortar, just perfect cutting and placement. These masons are respected, well paid, and their skills are valued. You're just the muscle that got the stone here. You're replaceable. They're not. Then it's back down the ramp for the next block, and the next, and the next. All day, every day, for months. The pyramid grows slowly, a few courses per year, and you'll likely never see it completed. The work spans decades, longer than your expected lifespan. The sun is your constant enemy. There's no shade on the construction site, nowhere to hide from the relentless rays. No breaks except brief ones for water and bread. Maybe 15 minutes every few hours. The heat is suffocating, a physical presence that presses down on you like a weight. Men collapse from heat stroke regularly, their bodies unable to regulate temperature. Some recover, some die. Their bodies are dragged to the shade and left there while someone determines if they're dead or just unconscious. This is your job. Not a career, not a calling. A burden you bear because the pharaoh demands it and because your village's quota must be met. Failure to meet the quota means shame for your entire village and possible punishment for your headman. So you work until your body breaks, and then you work some more. Let's talk about the weather, because in ancient Egypt, the weather isn't just uncomfortable or inconvenient. It's a constant, aggressive threat trying to kill you in various creative ways. Egypt is a desert, one of the hottest, driest places on Earth. It's not occasionally hot. It's not sometimes dry. It's relentlessly, brutally, murderously hot and dry almost every single day of the year. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit, often reaching 120 in the shade, if you can find any shade. And you're working outside, hauling stones with no shirt and no shade. The sun beats down mercilessly from a cloudless sky. Egypt has clouds maybe a few days per year. The rest of the time it's just endless blue sky and a sun that's actively hostile to human life. There's no escape. No trees provide shade. The landscape is nearly treeless except along the Nile. No buildings offer shelter during work hours, just you, the sand, and the sun that's determined to cook you alive. Heat exhaustion is constant. It's not a sometimes occurrence. It's your default state. Your body is always overheating, always struggling to maintain core temperature. Dehydration is a daily battle you're slowly losing. You're sweating constantly, losing fluid faster than you can possibly replace it. Your tongue swells. Your head pounds with every heartbeat. Your vision blurs around the edges. This is just normal. This is every day. At midday, when the sun is directly overhead, the heat becomes truly unbearable. The sand is so hot it burns your bare feet, forcing you to hop from foot to foot like a dancer, seeking any surface that might be fractionally cooler. The limestone blocks your moving, absorb heat, and radiate it back at you. Touching the stone with bare hands can cause burns. Some workers urinate on rags and wrap them around their heads for evaporative cooling. It's disgusting, but desperate times call for desperate measures. The urine-soaked cloth cools your head through evaporation, potentially saving your life. Dignity is a luxury you can't afford. Sandstorms are another nightmare that appears without warning. You'll be working, pulling a block, and suddenly the wind picks up. Within minutes, a wall of sand rolls across the desert, a brown cloud that blocks out the sun and reduces visibility to zero. You have seconds to react. Cover your face with your kilt, find shelter behind a block or in a depression, curl into a ball, and wait. The sand gets everywhere. Your eyes, burning and scratching even when you squeeze them shut. Your nose, caking and making it hard to breathe. Your mouth, gritty and disgusting. Your lungs, where it settles and causes coughing fits that last for days. After a sandstorm, you're coughing up mud for days, your lungs trying desperately to expel the foreign particles. Some men die during sandstorms, suffocating on sand or becoming disoriented and wandering into the desert. Their bodies are found later, partially buried, dried and mummified by the desert heat. Winter is slightly better, relatively speaking. Temperatures drop to an almost pleasant 70 to 80 degrees during the day, which feels cool after the summer inferno. You can work without feeling like you're literally cooking. But nights are cold, sometimes dropping near freezing. The temperature swing between day and night can be 50 or 60 degrees. Your thin linen kilt and reed mat offer no warmth whatsoever. You huddle with your family for heat, piling together like puppies, sharing body warmth. The mud brick walls offer some insulation, but not much. Cold air seeps through cracks in the window opening. You shiver through the night and hope morning comes quickly. The Nile flood is both blessing and curse. It brings water and rich soil for farming, renewing the agricultural land that feeds Egypt. It's the reason civilization exists here at all. The flood is so important that the Egyptian calendar is based on it. Akhet, the inundation season. Pere, the growing season. And Shemu, the harvest season. But the flood also means you're not working your fields, which is why you're stuck here building a pyramid. Your fields are underwater, useless for 3 or 4 months. So instead of farming, you're serving your national duty, hauling stones for the pharaoh. It's during Akhet that most of the pyramid workforce is assembled, farmers with nothing else to do, conscripted into service. The flood also brings mosquitoes, massive swarms that breed in the stagnant pools left behind. Mosquitoes mean malaria, a disease that causes fever, chills, and death. It's common enough that it's barely remarked upon. You either survive malaria or you don't. There's no treatment. The humidity during the flood season is oppressive. Egypt is normally dry, but when the Nile floods, the air becomes thick and sticky. Combined with the heat, it's suffocating. You can't breathe properly. The air feels like soup. Sweat doesn't evaporate, so your body can't cool itself. It's miserable in entirely different ways than the dry heat. There's no such thing as climate control. No fans, no air conditioning, no ice for cold drinks. The wealthy have servants who fan them with palm fronds. You have nothing, just heat, sand, sweat, and suffering. Welcome to working outdoors in ancient Egypt, where the weather is actively trying to murder you and sometimes succeeds. Feeling thirsty? You should be. You're working in the desert, sweating several liters per day, and the water situation is complicated and dangerous. The Nile is your only water source. This massive river, the longest in the world, flows north from the African interior, bringing life to Egypt. Without the Nile, Egypt would be uninhabitable desert from end to end. The Nile is everything. Water source, irrigation, transportation, food supply. It's worshipped as a god, Hapi, for good reason. But the Nile isn't clean. It's also where people bathe, wash clothes, dump waste, and where animals drink, urinate, and defecate. It's a disease-carrying, parasite-filled river, teeming with invisible dangers. But it's all you have. So you drink it or die of thirst. Those are your options. Drinking straight from the Nile is a calculated risk you take every day. The most dangerous threat is schistosomiasis, also called bilharzia. This parasitic disease lives in the water, spread by snails. The parasites enter through your skin when you wade in the water, or when you drink. You can't see them. You can't feel them entering. But they're there. Once inside, the parasites travel through your bloodstream to your liver, where they mature. Then they move to your intestines, or bladder, and lay eggs. Thousands of eggs. These eggs cause inflammation, scarring, and bleeding. Blood in your urine becomes normal. Abdominal pain is constant. Over years, it causes organ damage and eventual death. Nearly everyone in Egypt has schistosomiasis, including you. You've had blood in your urine for years. It's normal. You don't even think about it anymore. The disease is slowly killing you, but slowly enough that you'll probably die of something else first. So instead of drinking water directly, you drink beer. As mentioned, Egyptian beer is safer because the brewing process involves boiling the water, killing most bacteria and parasites. It's not perfect, but it's better than the alternative. Beer is your primary beverage, consumed from childhood to death. Water for the construction site is brought in large pottery jars loaded onto donkeys or carried by dedicated water carriers. These men do nothing but transport water all day, making repeated trips from the Nile to the construction site. The water is supposed to be rationed carefully, distributed at set times to prevent waste. But there's never enough. There can't be. Thousands of men working in extreme heat requires an enormous amount of water, more than can practically be transported. You're always slightly dehydrated, always thirsty, always wanting more. The overseers control access to water, and getting extra requires either bribery with your bread rations or being in their good graces. Some workers try to drink from irrigation canals that crisscross the agricultural land. These canals are fed by the Nile and are slightly better than the main river because the water has had time to settle, allowing some sediment and parasites to drop out. But it's still contaminated, still dangerous, still full of the same parasites and bacteria. There are no wells at the pyramid site. Digging through solid limestone bedrock to reach groundwater is nearly impossible with Bronze Age technology. The few wells that exist required years of work to excavate and are in established cities, not temporary construction sites. Everything depends on the Nile and the massive logistical operation of bringing water to you. Dehydration kills slowly and agonizingly. Your body can't function without water. Your organs begin shutting down. Your blood thickens. Your brain swells. You become confused, disoriented, unable to think clearly. You collapse. If you're lucky, someone recognizes the signs and forces water down your throat, saving your life. If you're not, you die where you fall, another casualty of the pyramid construction. The heat compounds the problem. In cooler climates, a human can survive 3 days without water. In the Egyptian desert heat, working hard labor, you'll be dead in less than 24 hours. Water isn't just important. It's the difference between life and death, and that difference is measured in hours. So you ration every sip, you drink when you can, and you pray to Hapi, god of the Nile, that the water doesn't kill you before the work does. You've cut your hand on a sharp stone. It's a small cut, barely worth noticing. A scrape across your palm where the rope slipped. In the modern world, you'd wash it, maybe put on a bandage, and forget about it by tomorrow. In ancient Egypt, this cut might kill you. There's no concept of germs or infection, no understanding of bacteria or how disease spreads. If a wound goes bad, becomes inflamed and painful, it's because of evil spirits, a curse from an enemy, or displeasure from the gods. Treatment involves prayers, amulets, and if you're lucky, a physician who might actually know what he's doing. Egyptian medicine is surprisingly advanced in some ways. Physicians can set broken bones with splints. They can stitch wounds with linen thread. They can perform minor surgeries, removing tumors or draining abscesses. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, a medical text dating to your time period, describes treatments for injuries with surprising accuracy and rationality. The papyrus describes 48 cases of injuries, from head wounds to spinal trauma. For each case, it gives examination procedures, diagnosis, and treatment. Some treatments include, if you examine a man with a broken nose, you should place your fingers on it. If it crunches under your fingers, you should say, "You have a broken nose." I can treat this condition. It's remarkably practical. But they don't understand infection. They can see that wounds sometimes go bad, become red and swollen and leak pus. They call it heat in the wound, but they don't know why it happens or how to prevent it. Their treatments are hit or miss. The physician might apply a poultice of honey and herbs to your cut. Honey is actually antibacterial, one of nature's best wound dressings. Combined with certain herbs like garlic or willow bark, which has anti-inflammatory properties, it sometimes works, but often it doesn't. The cut gets worse despite treatment. The infection spreads. Your hand swells, becoming hot and painful. Red lines appear, running up your arm, a sign that the infection is spreading through your lymphatic system. Fever sets in, your body's desperate attempt to fight the infection by raising its temperature. You become delirious, shaking with chills one moment and burning up the next. If you're very sick, a priest might be called. He'll recite spells from the magical medical texts, wave incense, and invoke the gods. He might use a magical amulet, holding it over the wound while chanting. It's theatrical, impressive, and medically useless. But it provides psychological comfort, which isn't nothing. Some treatments involve written spells on papyrus, which are then washed off with water and drunk. The belief is that the power of the written words, especially the names of gods, transfers to the water and enters your body. It doesn't work, obviously, but again, the placebo effect is real. Surgery exists, but it's crude and terrifying. If your infection gets bad enough that amputation is the only option, it's performed with bronze saws and knives. Bronze is a soft metal, not great for surgical instruments, but it's what's available. Copper and bronze are used for everything from farming tools to surgical implements. There's no anesthesia except maybe wine or opium if you're incredibly lucky, which you're not. Opium exists, imported at great expense from poppies grown in specialized locations. It's reserved for the wealthy and powerful. You get nothing for the pain. You're held down by several strong men. The limb is tied off to reduce bleeding. The surgeon saws through your flesh and bone while you scream and thrash. The wound is cauterized with hot oil or a heated bronze blade, the searing agony of burning flesh added to the trauma of amputation. Many die from shock during the procedure. Many more die from infection afterward. Dental problems are epidemic and agonizing. The gritty bread wears your teeth down to the gums by middle age. Once the enamel is gone and the sensitive interior exposed, eating anything becomes painful. But worse is when abscesses form, pockets of infection in your jaw. Dental abscesses are excruciating, the worst pain imaginable. Your jaw swells, making it impossible to eat. The pressure builds until you can't sleep, can't think, can't function. Treatment involves either extracting the tooth with pliers, a process that's as awful as it sounds, or drilling a hole in the tooth or jaw to drain the infection. The drilling is done with a bow drill, the same tool used for woodworking. A pointed bit is spun rapidly by pulling a bow back and forth. It's excruciatingly painful and often ineffective. If the infection spreads to your brain, and it sometimes does, you die in agony. Archaeological evidence shows that dental abscesses were a leading cause of death. Skulls have been found with massive infections that ate through the jawbone. People lived with these infections for months or years before finally succumbing. Childbirth is particularly dangerous for women, though it's not your concern as a male worker. Women give birth at home, attended by midwives with experience but no formal medical training. The midwives know certain techniques, positions that help, ways to turn a breech baby. But when complications arise, there's little they can do. If the baby is stuck, if the mother is bleeding too much, if infection sets in, death becomes likely. Maternal mortality is shockingly high. 1 in 10 births results in the mother's death. Childbirth is the most dangerous thing a woman does, and most women do it multiple times if they survive the first. Magic and medicine are completely intertwined in Egyptian culture. Amulets are as important as physical treatment. Spells are prescribed alongside poultices. The gods are invoked in every medical procedure. If you recover, the gods were pleased with you. If you die, it was your time, written in the stars at your birth. So that small cut on your hand, keep it as clean as possible, which isn't very clean given the dusty, filthy work environment. Hope for the best. Make an offering to Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of healing, or to Imhotep, the deified architect and physician. Because in ancient Egypt, even minor injuries are potential death sentences, and there's very little anyone can do about it. After a day of hauling stones in the sun, a day where you've sweated through your kilt and your muscles are screaming and your head is pounding from dehydration, you shuffle back to your dwelling for the evening meal. Your stomach is empty, your body exhausted, every step an effort. Surely dinner will be better than breakfast. Surely there's something more substantial waiting. Wrong. It's almost identical. Welcome to the monotonous culinary experience of ancient Egyptian working-class life. More bread. Always bread. More onions. Always onions. Maybe some lentils or beans boiled into a thin stew. If you're fortunate, there's dried fish, salty and tough, but at least it's protein. But don't expect much. Expect exactly what you had this morning, because variety is a luxury for the wealthy. The food is prepared by your wife or mother over an open fire pit. There's no kitchen in the modern sense, no stove, no counter space. Just a fire pit outside your dwelling or in a shared cooking area with a few pottery cooking vessels that have been used so many times they're cracked and stained black from smoke. Cooking is done in the evening when temperatures drop slightly and the work is done. The fire is made from dried dung. There's not enough wood for cooking fires. Animal dung, mostly from cows and donkeys, is collected, dried in the sun until it's hard and brittle, then used as fuel. It burns surprisingly well, produces decent heat, and the smoke adds a distinct flavor to everything. You've been eating dung smoke-flavored food your entire life, and have no idea food could taste any other way. Bread is baked in clay ovens shaped like beehives. The dough, made from emmer wheat or barley flour mixed with water, is slapped onto the hot interior walls and baked quickly, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It comes out flat, somewhat round, and hard. The bread is covered in ash and bits of clay that flaked off the oven walls. You eat it anyway. Extra minerals, you tell yourself, though you don't know what minerals are. The bread is also filled with grit from the grinding stones. Every grinding stone, no matter how carefully maintained, sheds tiny particles of stone into the flour. Over years of eating this bread, the grit literally sands down your teeth to flat, worn nubs. Dental wear is so severe in ancient Egyptian remains that archaeologists can estimate age at death by how worn down the teeth are. Vegetables are limited to what grows easily in the Nile's rich soil. Onions, always onions. Garlic, pungent and strong. Leeks, which are milder than onions but still in the same family. Lettuce, which was considered an aphrodisiac. Cucumbers, eaten raw or pickled. Lentils and chickpeas, which provide protein when meat isn't available, meaning almost always. Root vegetables like radishes appear occasionally. They're crunchy and slightly spicy, a change from the endless onions. Everything is boiled or roasted. Seasoning is minimal. Salt if you can afford it, which you mostly can't. Maybe cumin or coriander if someone in your family grows herbs. But mostly, it's just the taste of the vegetables themselves, smoky from the dung fire. Salt is valuable, mined from desert deposits or evaporated from seawater. It's used for preservation, for seasoning, and as currency in some transactions. A pinch of salt is a luxury you ration carefully. Most of your food is undersalted and bland. Meat is rare, a treat reserved for festivals and special occasions. When it appears, it's during religious celebrations when animals are sacrificed to the gods. Cattle, sheep, goats, ducks, geese. The animals are ritually slaughtered, portions are offered to the gods by burning them, and the rest is distributed to the people. When you do get meat, it's incredible. Roasted over open fires until the skin is crispy and the fat drips sizzling into the flames. The smell alone is enough to make your mouth water and your stomach clench with desire. You eat slowly, savoring every bite, chewing carefully to extract every bit of flavor. You gnaw the bones until they're clean and white. Nothing is wasted. But that happens maybe once a month if you're lucky. More likely once every few months. The rest of the time, it's just bread, onions, lentils, and the occasional fish. Fish from the Nile is more accessible than meat, but still not a daily occurrence. The Nile teems with fish, catfish with their whiskers and bottom-feeding habits, tilapia that breed prolifically, perch with their spiny fins, and Nile carp. They're caught in nets, woven baskets that trap fish, or with hooks made from bone or copper. Fresh fish spoils within hours in the Egyptian heat. Without refrigeration, fish must be preserved immediately. Most fish is split open, salted, and dried in the sun. The result is tough, extremely salty, and needs to be soaked in water before eating. Smoking is another preservation method, hanging fish over smoky fires for days until they're dried and flavored. Some workers supplement their diet by fishing in the Nile during rare free time. But fishing requires equipment, nets, hooks, line, boats, or at least knowledge of where to fish from the bank. Equipment costs money you don't have. Time is also a luxury. After 12 hours of hauling stones, you're too exhausted to fish. So you make do with your rations and whatever your family can manage. Your family has a small plot near your dwelling where your wife grows a few vegetables. Onions, obviously. Maybe some lettuce or cucumbers. It supplements the rations, adds a bit of variety, provides fresh food occasionally. But the soil needs to be maintained, watered, and protected from animals. It's more work in a life already full of work. You choke down your gritty bread, swallow your bitter beer, and eat your boiled lentils mixed with onions. It's flavorless, monotonous, and barely adequate. Your daughter is still coughing, that wet, rattling sound that's gotten worse. You give her extra from your portion as much as you can spare. Your wife notices and gives you a look that combines gratitude, concern, and resignation. You're all slowly starving despite the rations, all losing weight, all getting weaker, but you can't think about that now. You can't think about the fact that your daughter probably has a lung infection that will kill her because there's no treatment. You can't think about the fact that you're wearing your body down faster than it can repair itself. You can't think about the probability that you won't live to see this pyramid completed. You finish your meal in silence, sitting in the dust outside your dwelling as the sun sets over the Nile. The sky turns brilliant orange and red and purple, colors so vivid they seem unreal. It's beautiful. One of the few beautiful things in your life. You watch the sunset and try not to think about tomorrow. It's evening now. The work is done for the day. Your meager meal eaten. The sun sets over the Nile, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and reds that fade to purple and finally to deep blue as the first stars appear. It's beautiful and utterly indifferent to your suffering, to the suffering of everyone around you. Religion is everywhere in Egypt. It's not separate from daily life. It is daily life. The gods are real, present, and demanding. You don't just believe in them. You live in their shadow every moment, every action, every thought, every decision is filtered through religious understanding. At the center of everything is Ra, the sun god. He's the king of the gods, the creator, the source of life itself. Ra sails across the sky each day in his solar bark, a divine boat, bringing light and warmth. When you watch the sunrise, you're witnessing a divine victory. Ra has successfully traversed the underworld during the night and emerged triumphant once again. During the night, Ra travels through the Duat, the underworld, facing dangers and enemies. The most dangerous is Apophis, a massive serpent who represents chaos and seeks to destroy Ra and plunge the world into eternal darkness. Every night, Ra battles Apophis. Every morning, Ra wins. This battle is eternal, playing out every single night. Your morning prayers help Ra in this battle. Everyone's prayers do. It's a cosmic struggle between order and chaos, and you're part of it. When you labor under the blazing sun, you're suffering under Ra's gaze. The sun isn't just a celestial object. It's a god, watching you, judging you. The heat that nearly kills you every day is divine attention. You can't escape it, you can't hide from it. Pharaoh is a living god, the son of Ra, the embodiment of Horus, the falcon god. He's not just a king, a political leader. He's divine, a god walking among mortals. His word is law, because it's divine will. His decisions shape reality, because he's a channel for the god's intentions. Building his pyramid isn't just construction work. It's a sacred duty, a religious act. You're creating the pharaoh's eternal home, the place where his Ka, his life force, will reside forever after his physical death. The pyramid is his stairway to heaven, his method of ascending to join the gods in the sky. This belief makes the work meaningful beyond just avoiding punishment. You're participating in something eternal, something that will outlast you by thousands of years. Your suffering has purpose. Your labor serves the divine order Ma'at, the principle of truth, justice, and cosmic balance. The gods are everywhere, a massive pantheon with complex relationships and overlapping domains. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, writing, and magic. He invented hieroglyphs and serves as the scribe of the gods. Prayers to Thoth help with any intellectual task. Anubis, the jackal-headed guardian of the dead. He oversees mummification and guides souls through the underworld. Anubis will weigh your heart after death, determining if you're worthy of the afterlife. Hathor, goddess of love, beauty, music, and joy. She's often depicted as a cow or a woman with cow horns. Despite her gentle associations, she's also a fierce protector. Hathor has a dark side, transforming into Sekhmet when angered. Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of war and healing. This seems contradictory until you understand that she both causes and cures disease. Plagues are Sekhmet's anger. Healing is Sekhmet's mercy. You pray to her often, hoping she'll spare you from illness. Osiris, god of the afterlife and resurrection. His myth is central to Egyptian religion. Osiris was a king murdered by his brother Set, cut into pieces and scattered. His wife Isis collected the pieces and reassembled him, allowing him to become lord of the underworld. Osiris judges the dead and rules over the afterlife. Set, god of chaos, storms, and the desert. He's not exactly evil, but dangerous and unpredictable. Set represents the forces that threaten order, but he's also necessary, defending Ra's boat against Apophis each night. Isis, wife of Osiris and mother of Horus. She's a powerful magician and devoted mother. Isis represents ideal motherhood and wifely devotion. Women pray to Isis for protection during childbirth. Horus, the falcon god, god of kingship and the sky. Every pharaoh is the living Horus. When the pharaoh dies, he becomes Osiris, and the new pharaoh becomes Horus. It's a cycle of death and rebirth that maintains cosmic order. Ptah, creator god and patron of craftsmen. The skilled masons working on the pyramid pray to Ptah for steady hands and true eyes. He's associated with Memphis, the capital city. Sobek, the crocodile god of the Nile. He's both feared and revered. Crocodiles kill people regularly, but the Nile provides life. Sobek embodies this duality. Bastet, the cat goddess, protector of home and family. She's gentle and fierce, like cats themselves. Almost every household has a cat, both as a pet and as a religious symbol. You make offerings daily, small things because you have nothing valuable. Bread, beer, incense if you can afford it. You whisper prayers at small shrines, carved niches in walls where small statues or images of gods are placed. A prayer to Ra at sunrise. A prayer to Ptah before work. A prayer to Sekhmet if someone is ill. A prayer to Anubis when someone dies. You wear amulets for protection, small carved figures or symbols on cords around your neck. An eye of Horus to protect against evil. A jed pillar representing stability. An ankh symbolizing life. These aren't just decorations. They're protective magic, channeling divine power. Religion isn't Sunday service, an hour a week. It's constant. It's woven into every aspect of existence. The calendar is religious, marking festival days for various gods. The year begins with the rising of Sirius, the dog's star, which coincides with the Nile flood. This isn't coincidence. It's divine timing. The afterlife obsesses Egyptian culture in a way that's almost incomprehensible to modern minds. Death isn't the end. It's a transition, a journey to another form of existence. This belief shapes everything. If you're wealthy, you're mummified. Your body carefully preserved for eternity. The internal organs are removed, except the heart, which is needed for judgment. The body is dried with natron, wrapped in hundreds of yards of linen, and placed in a decorated coffin inside a tomb filled with food, tools, furniture, and treasures. Everything you might need in the afterlife. If you're a common worker like yourself, your burial is much simpler. You're wrapped in linen if your family can afford it, placed in a simple wooden coffin if you're lucky, or just wrapped in a reed mat if you're not. You're buried in the sand in a worker's cemetery. No elaborate tomb, no treasures, just a hole in the ground. The desert's heat and dryness naturally mummify bodies buried in sand. The dry conditions prevent decay, preserving tissue. It's not the elaborate process the wealthy enjoy, but it achieves similar results accidentally. But here's the thing. You believe. You absolutely believe that death is not the end. If you live justly, speak truth, Maintain Ma'at and avoid chaos. Your soul will be judged fairly. After death, your Ka, your life force, and your Ba, your personality, must navigate the Duat, the underworld. It's a dangerous journey filled with demons, gates, and challenges. You need spells and passwords to pass through, which is why wealthy people have the Book of the Dead buried with them, a guide to the afterlife. Eventually, you reach the Hall of Two Truths, where your heart is weighed against the feather of Ma'at by Anubis. Thoth records the result. If your heart is light, unburdened by sin and wrongdoing, it balances with the feather. You're declared true of voice and allowed to enter the field of reeds, a paradise where crops grow tall without effort, where there's no hunger or thirst or pain. If your heart is heavy with sin, too weighed down by evil deeds, it sinks. The monster Ammit, part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus, devours your heart. You cease to exist. That's true death, oblivion, non-existence. It's the most terrifying fate imaginable. So you try to live justly. You try to speak truth. You try to maintain Ma'at in your small way, because this life is temporary, painful, and brief. The next life is eternal. And the pyramid you're building isn't just for the pharaoh. It's a symbol of divine order, of humanity's ability to create something eternal, of the struggle against chaos and entropy. As night falls completely, the stars emerge in their thousands. The Milky Way stretches across the sky, a river of light. The ancient Egyptians see it as a heavenly counterpart to the Nile, a celestial river where Ra sails his boat at night. You lie on your reed mat, body aching from the day's labor. Your hands are bleeding again, the cuts reopened despite the rough healing. Your back feels like it might break. Your feet are raw. Your head pounds from dehydration you can never quite overcome. But you whisper a prayer, not for comfort, not for relief, just for tomorrow. Just for the strength to face another day under the sun. Just for the will to keep going when everything in your body says to give up. Because in ancient Egypt, the gods are watching. Your work is part of something eternal. And someday, thousands of years from now, people will look at what you built and wonder how it was possible. They'll never know your name, but your work will endure. So, what have we learned tonight? That ancient Egypt was glorious? In its monuments, yes. In its daily life for common people? Absolutely brutal. You've woken in a mud brick hovel, shared with your entire family and the ever-present dust. You've eaten gritty bread that's destroying your teeth and bitter beer that's barely safer than the parasite-filled water. You've relieved yourself in a communal latrine that smells like concentrated human misery. You've hauled stones under a merciless sun that's actively trying to kill you. Each block weighs tons, and you pull them with nothing but rope and human muscle. You've watched men collapse from heat stroke, their bodies unable to cope with the temperature. You've seen men crushed by falling blocks, their screams cut short by tons of limestone. You've endured heat that would kill most modern people within hours. You've gone barefoot on sand hot enough to cause burns. You've worked 12-hour days with inadequate water, insufficient food, and no medical care worth the name. You've lived with parasites in your intestines, visible proof writhing in your waist. You've suffered from diseases that have no cure, no treatment, just endurance until you either survive or die. Your teeth are ground down to nubs from gritty bread. Your body is covered in scars from accidents that would have been prevented with basic safety equipment. And yet, what you built still stands. 4,500 years later, the pyramids endure. They've outlasted empires, languages, entire civilizations. They've seen the rise and fall of countless kingdoms. They've witnessed technological revolutions unimaginable to you. And they're still there, massive and eternal. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the largest pyramid ever built, remained the tallest human-made structure in the world for 3,800 years. 3,800 years. Nothing built after it exceeded its height until the Eiffel Tower in 1889 CE. You won't be remembered. Your name won't appear in any inscription, any official record, any historical document. You're one of tens of thousands of workers, anonymous muscle that moved stone. But every block you moved is still there. That's your immortality. Not your name, but your work. The ancient Egyptians believed in eternity, in building for the ages. They achieved it. Not through magic, not through divine intervention, though they believed in both. They achieved it through brutal, relentless, back-breaking human labor, through suffering and sacrifice and determination. They built monuments that have lasted longer than most nations. They created wonders that still inspire awe. They solved engineering problems that modern engineers study and respect, all with Bronze Age technology, human muscle, and unwavering will. The cost was enormous. Thousands of lives, countless injuries, immeasurable suffering. The workers' cemetery near the pyramids contains thousands of bodies, men who died building these monuments. They were buried with respect, provided with funeral rites, but they're still dead, lives cut short by the demands of pharaonic ambition. Was it worth it? That's not a question you would understand. The pyramid had to be built. It was the pharaoh's will, and the pharaoh was a god. The pyramid maintained Ma'at, cosmic order, the balance between chaos and civilization. Of course, it was worth it. The question itself would seem strange. But from a modern perspective, we can ask, what does it mean that humanity's most enduring monuments were built on the backs of people who suffered immensely? That our most impressive achievements often come with terrible human costs? The pyramids are testament to what humans can achieve when we commit fully to a goal, when we organize labor efficiently, when we develop innovative solutions to impossible problems. They're also testament to what people will endure, what suffering humans can survive, what we can force ourselves to do when culture and religion demand it. So tonight, in your comfortable home with clean water, soft beds, medical care, and abundant food, remember them, the builders, the workers, the forgotten thousands who created wonders while living in conditions we consider inhuman. They didn't build pyramids because it was easy or because they wanted to. They built them because their civilization demanded it, because their religion required it, because their pharaoh commanded it, and they succeeded beyond measure. The pyramids remain. The workers are dust, their bones scattered in the desert, their names lost to time. But their achievement echoes through history, a reminder that humanity can endure almost anything and create marvels in the process. They faced impossible heat, inadequate water, dangerous work, and constant threat of injury or death. They did it with Bronze Age technology, no machines, no modern engineering, just human determination and clever problem solving. And they built something eternal. Rest well, ancient builders. Your work is done. Your suffering is over. But what you created will outlast us all. When our civilization is dust, when our languages are forgotten, when our nations are historical footnotes, the pyramids will still stand. Silent, massive, eternal. Your names are lost, but your achievement is immortal, and that, perhaps, is the greatest monument of all.